Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, coming at you live, talking about episode 11 of season 1 of Star Trek Discovery, entitled The Wolf Inside. And for my part, this was riveting. I was just at the edge of my seat from the opening prologue, catching everyone up with everything that's been going on. And I didn't loosen my grip until the end credits, until after the preview for the next episode. Holy hell. That's all I can say. So much stuff happened in this episode, and I'm winging it again, much as I did last week. I didn't take any notes or anything like that. I just got done watching the episode a little while ago before hitting record for this video, and I was just astounded, man. I mean, still very much we are taking place in the mirror universe, and the dilemmas that the characters are going through, Michael Burnham especially, confronting the dark side, for lack of a better term, you know, having to command people beamed out into space for all intents and purposes. It's having a poor effect on her, and I like the analogy of, Ash Tyler to her is a lifeline of a sort, and vice versa. She is for him. Um, but there's so much more going on with Ash Tyler. Um, I got to give it up for the performers in the show. Shazad Latif, especially Ash Tyler, come Voke. The last couple of, I mean, ever since his first scene in the show. But all the PTSD stuff, all of that, sort of Manchurian Candidate, memory coming back to the surface, realizing whom he really is, being confronted with his mirror universe counterpart, which really pushed him over the edge. The murder of Dr. Culber and all this kind of stuff. Like, man, this guy, because I've seen him kill the doctor, and yet I'm still sympathetic toward him. Like, even while he and Burnham are cradling each other, and I'm like, I kind of still am sympathetic toward him, because we still don't have a concrete answer. At that point, okay, is it just that he was brainwashed, or is he actually Volk? Everybody and their brother, everybody and their uncle's been saying since day one, this guy is Volk. Myself included. And but you needed the confirmation. This episode gives us that confirmation, and the performance, the shift in performance from this sort of cocksure survivor, Starfleet survivor of torture, Klingon torture, and all this stuff, abuse and whatever like that, and coming back to the job, prim and proper style, and then the breakdown, the slowly like picking away at that outer shell, that facade, and the implantation of like the command prompt, if you will, from L'Rell to call Vogue back. But because of how intertwined, interpersonally, connected he is with Burnham, it's all kinds of shady, and he's not able to make sense of it, and there's so much internal conflict. This guy, Shazad Latif, my applauds to you, sir, because teeter-tottering back and forth, sympathy, hate, sympathy, being compelled, being riveted, just like every other thing that happened. And it was funny because when they go down to the rebel sort of encampment, Burnham having this idea, maybe I can unlock some hidden truth, something that we just aren't able to grasp in our own universe, as to making peace with the Klingons. What do we need? What can we do to affect that? To maybe, instead of having to win the war by just battling the Klingons to death and stamping them out, maybe if we come at this from a more peaceful equivalent, maybe there's something we've overlooked, something we haven't considered, some knowledge that surpasses us, and I can find it here. That whole sequence. My sister was watching it with me, and I blatantly said, "Oh, he's gonna mess it up. Ash Tyler's gonna mess it up. As soon as we see Volk is the guy, I'm like, this is it. This is going down. Something bad's gonna happen." And surely enough, a few seconds later, boom, it happens. Thoroughly compelled by, Sarek being in there again, full on mirror universe goatee and all of that good stuff. Love that he is able to perceive, as we see through the flashback, very artistically edited, everything we already know as viewers, but catching mirror universe Sarek up on the uptake on all of this. His relationship with her and everything, and learning that she is honest and true. She's coming at this from a peaceful standpoint and wanting to help and wanting to find an equilibrium and save the lives of these rebels. And, because Ash Volk goes and attacks Mirror Volk, it almost undermines and jeopardizes that whole thing. But it was just riveting and compelling. Those are my two go-to words for this episode. And before I forget, I absolutely loved that we actually got to see an Andorian. We got to see a couple other alien species as well, but a very Enterprise sort of TOS mesh of an Andorian. I was endeared to the Andorians because of Shran single-handedly in the series Enterprise, and I absolutely love that we get this blue guy right here, boy in blue, full-on Andorian, part of the Rebels. And the reason I say he's kind of like a hybridization of Enterprise meets TOS is because of the way he's styled. He's got the little robotic antennas and everything like that, but the hair is all thick white, and it comes down to a sort of V, like a point. The bangs, or whatever you would refer to that as. And so that reminded me of the Andorian murderer we see in Journey to Babel, or whatever it was in the original series. I don't remember the episode title. Everything that's going on over on Discovery, from the awareness that Culber was dead, and when we see Stamets in his still zoned out state, cradling Culber's body as the woman affecting repairs stumbles onto them. Again, I turn to my sister and I'm like, oh, they're going to think he did it. They're going to think Stamets killed him. Because he's out of it anyway. I love this episode is really the first one. There've been a couple of times since the first episode, but for the most part, I've kind of had a love-hate relationship with the Tilly character. I kind of feel like, why is she there? Like what purpose is she serving? And there have been a couple of moments where she brought some smarts to the table. She had some thinking out of the box ideas that helped. But other than dropping F-bombs and stammering nervously, in scenes hereabouts, I haven't really warmed to her character. In fact, I've had somewhat of a dislike for her character. But she dominates in this episode, and she completely gains my respect as a character and admiration as a character, because it is she singularly who is approaching and thinking again outside the box, against the norm, as to how we can sort of revitalize Stamets. What the hell is going on in his brain? What can we do? He's tapped into the mycelium network, and that's affecting him, and it's like, it's kind of like a vortex opening that's passing through his whole brain and everything, and so all the sort of things that make him an individual and human and alive as we know it are all being put on the back burner and shutting down to keep this sort of passageway open, this vortex open. So what if we jam a whole bunch of the spores in there, and we ultimately connect him, and sort of let it all sort of equate and create an equilibrium in his mind. Maybe his mind will come back. Maybe his consciousness will come back. And it seemed to be working, and I'm like, you go, girl. Hell yes. Finally, somebody knows something to do here. It's like kind of scientific, pseudoscientific, with the idea of saving a life, preserving a life, getting that life back. And then, of course, it all goes wrong. Just seconds before it did, my sister turns to me and goes, oh, it's not going to work, is it? There's a butt coming here somewhere. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe, hopefully it'll work. Nope, it didn't work. He dies. And I'm like, oh, come on. First the doctor, then him. And the two gay characters, too. Like, come on. The minority characters. I mean, there's a whole cast of minorities in the show. Just joking. Don't take offense. But I was legitimately saddened that it's like, oh, we lost Culber. That irked me. That saddened me. Then we lost Stamets. I'm like, come on, man, give me a break. Who can I root for other than Burnham? I'm rooting for Tilly now. I've been rooting for Stamets and Culber and everything like that. I don't know what the hell's going on with Lorca, especially toward the end of the episode. That look he gives, well, not the camera, but the look he gives when the Emperor or Empress is revealed, which answered to a speculation I haven't voiced, but in recollecting back to Star Trek Enterprise, the In a Mirror Darkly two-parter from their fourth season, with Hoshi becoming the pseudo-empress or emperor, I thought it would kind of be interesting if we found out Georgiou was the current emperor. Like, maybe she has some family lineage with Hoshi. That sounds dope. I love that. I think it would be incredibly, incredibly compelling and interesting to make that sort of canon tie back to Hoshi Sato in the Mirror Universe, to have Georgiou be a relation, a descendant, and I was hoping we would get to see the Mirror Defiant. It felt like all of a sudden with the redirection, a whole new directive that Burnham had put forth to Lorca about, going down and talking to the rebels and seeing what made them mesh, what made them so kosher amongst themselves. That we had been redirected and maybe even forgotten, hey, we're here to get the information on the Defiant. But as we see by the end, once Ash Kumvok is revealed and he goes to try to murder Burnham and everything like that, which had me livid and cringing again, my applauds to Shazad Latif for just a hell of a performance. And the conflict, Sonequa Martin Green embodies as Michael Burnham being confronted with that. Like, she's stuck in such a precarious, insane situation, an insane scenario, and she's only got one person she can really confide in and go to that's keeping her centered, that's giving her some level of semblance amongst all this darkness and bloodlust and whatever like that of the Mirror Universe. And then she's confronted with a smack upside the head that he's maybe just as bad, if not worse, than everybody else, and he's been all along. It's like, holy hell. And I love that, slave Saru ends up coming in and saving her. Like, how did he know? But I'm glad he did. That little sort of humanistic moment between she and him, giving him the name when he's like, slaves have no name. Because there's a level of, comradeship, I guess, between them, camaraderie, or at least with, proper Saru, even though it's been adversarial for their characters, Burnham and Saru respectively. I think they've kind of warmed to each other a little bit. I wish we could see more of that on screen, quite frankly. Playing into a little more of the, Dr. McCoy Spock dynamic, which I felt we were getting a little earlier on in the series of Discovery, in the dynamic, the relationship that they had going on. And I like that they were kind of warming to each other more. I think, Burnham has gained Saru's respect, which is why he's the guy at the end of the episode when they beam Ash out into space and then they pick him up, and it's Saru who's there to welcome Ash Tyler Kumvok, and he's the one who gets the information disc about Defiant and everything like that. So they didn't scrap that storyline at all. It was going on in the background while all this other stuff was going on. That was compelling and riveting and just had my jaw on the floor the whole time. I was just stunned. And then, of course, picking up with Stamets again, even though he's kind of sort of pronounced dead and they leave him in the chamber. I said to my sister, they just leave him there? Like, how long ago did he die? And they just leave his body there? They're not going to take him down to the morgue or whatever. Until he's in observance and mourning, and suddenly he's waking back up, kind of, sort of. And I guess he kind of wakes up in the mycelium network. I had suspected there was probably going to be some intertwining there. And I was wondering all the while, we were seeing Mirror Universe versions of the Discovery characters. Where is Stamets? Why haven't we seen him yet? And this is why. He was engaged. So he was waiting for himself. But yeah, I loved this episode, as if you can't tell. I had a thorough blast with it, and I can't wait to see where we go from here. Giorgio, Empress Giorgio, coming in at the end, and all hell breaking loose, and it's like every character's up against it. This felt like Empire Strikes Back level. The ending of this episode, a real down note for our heroes, and it makes it that much more compelling to want to know what's going to happen next. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 11 of season 1 of Star Trek Discovery. If you've seen it as well, The Wolf Inside. If you found it as compelling as I did, and interesting and riveting as I did, if you enjoyed it as much as I did, if not, why not? Let me know that in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you, even if you didn't happen to, gain any satisfaction out of watching this episode. Let me know as to why. And otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. With this video, find you well, live long and prosper, my friends, and I'll catch you later. Peace.